Hey guys, it's JJ. Welcome back to the UNC Dynasty. We are coming off a loss in the national championship game. Against Florida State, we didn't really stand a chance. They were just too good, and from the get-go, it kind of felt like we didn't really deserve to be there. It should have been Michigan, but they didn't want to be there. They gave it away in the fourth quarter, and we were happy to take the spot. But we're going to go into a new offseason now. And I hope this is a chance for us to get even better and to make a run for it next year again. I've already shown this before, the staff management thing. We did hire a new defensive coordinator since I think our DC left to take another job. Now, first of all, we're going to go through awards. We won it this year with an edge rusher, Malik Hamrick. He had a ridiculous season. He broke all kinds of records, and yeah, he definitely deserved it. I didn't use him, and he still got 45 sacks in one season. It is ridiculous. We're playing on Heisman here. This is Matt Tent's slider set, and Malik Hamrick, that quick jump ability is just too good. Player of the year, second place was actually Luke Kromenhoek, the quarterback we faced in the championship game in the Natty. And he did come in second here. We had a third place finish for Buck Stoner and a fifth place finish for Kyle Costanzo. So fun stuff here with a lot of our players. We did get second place in head coach of the year. That's a little bit disappointing. We made it to the championship game, and Auburn definitely did not. So, but okay. Malik Hamrick, obviously also best defensive player of the year, and deservedly so. I felt like all of his sacks propelled us to that championship game just by himself. The rest of the defense didn't do that much. Just solid coverage, I guess, and solid run defense, but Malik Hamrick destroying one drive after another. Bo Atkinson also made the list. Travis Shaw and Ashton Woods, our middle linebacker, although I don't really feel like Ashton Woods deserved this honor specifically, but okay. Best DB of the year is actually the corner that picked us off. First interception of the season went to Conrad Hussey. Oh man, that was a crazy pick, man. He flew over from the other side of the field, just straight to the ball. Yeah, bunch of Florida State players on this list actually. I don't know. I don't think the playoffs count into these awards, right? Because there's so many Florida State players on this list. It kind of makes it feel like these stats count, but I'm pretty sure these stats are determined at the end of the regular season. At the after the conference championship game week, I think that's when awards are decided. I think so. That's kind of weird, but Florida State did have a very good secondary, so no surprise there. Kyle Costanzo actually wins running back of the year, and that as a true freshman. Can you believe it? Roydell Williams comes in second for Florida State. That kid looked pretty good as well. Man, he was basically unstoppable in the national championship game. We have the best receiver as well. It goes to Buck Stoner, who had a very good season as a true freshman. To be fair, we kind of did force feed him the ball, so but that's only because we didn't really have other great receivers, and we lost our tight end last year or something. So yeah. Malik Hamrick obviously also wins the Best Defensive Lineman of the Year award, also called Lombardi Award. Bo Atkinson in second on that list. Travis Shaw in fifth. We didn't make it with any other guys, but that's our three main pass rushers, or defensive linemen in general. Best defensive end goes to Malik Hamrick. No surprise. He's coming back as well. Like, he's not going to declare he's an 83 overall. 83 overalls don't declare. Just like Bo Atkinson. Both of them are going to be coming back. So next year, I hope they're going to be even stronger, man. I think this defense is going to look very scary next year if we get the right training results, man. And then best tight end, I actually did force feed it a little bit to Jake Johnson because he was our best or second best receiving option. But not as much that he wins best tight end of the year, but he still made the list. And then for the assistant coach, it's actually our offensive coordinator that got on this list. And he actually did not decide to go somewhere else. He has almost a perfect record. Best linebacker goes to Harold Perkins from LSU. There is Ashton Woods in second place. I think that's not really fair. It's just, I think his numbers are inflated because the sim engine just works a little differently. But yeah, defensive linebacking core for us was actually a weakness on this team. The one weakness that we had, and then left guard was also a weakness. So that were the two main weaknesses of the season, and I hope we can improve. Kyle Costanzo makes it, this is All-Americans now. Kyle Costanzo makes it first team All-Americans nationally. So he's on that list. That's a fun thing. We did not get anybody else, I think, and that is crazy talk because for some reason Malik Hamrick is not on this list. Are you kidding me? 45 sacks? Seriously? But that's okay. I think these All-American awards are more based on overall, honestly, because that's why Ruben Bain makes it there, even though he didn't really have a crazy good season or anything. And then, yeah, just a few other players that don't really mean that much to us. We're gonna go to the second team now. These All-American lists are always a little bit weird. Players making it that you don't expect, and then other players that you do expect to make it don't make it and stuff. But yeah, we've got an East Carolina kid as the top receiver on the second team, man. That's good to see. And there is some surprising news later on about East Carolina. And yeah, we're gonna talk about that at the end of the video, but we didn't propel anybody onto this list for the second team All-Americans. It's just Kyle Costanzo made it for the first team, and that is it, I think. There is, again, a few Florida State players, the edge rusher Patrick Payton, and the other safety, Shaheem Brown, who also managed to pick us off. We had 2 picks this season, and both went to the 2 Florida State safeties. That's fun to see. But yeah, they're gonna be graduating a bunch of players, man. And then for the freshman All-Americans on the national level, we actually did get a couple here. Kyle Costanzo makes it. Obviously, he was on the first team, so obviously he's gonna make this list as well. And then Buck Stoner is actually on this list. After, again, an East Carolina kid that I just mentioned. And apart from that, they had Florida State had a guard that made this list, but and the right tackle, I completely forgot about that guy. So they still have some good talent, but they're gonna lose a bunch of seniors this year. So I don't think Florida State is gonna be as good next year, but I guess we'll see. We didn't. I don't think we didn't have anybody else on this list. No, we did not, apparently. Oh, that's fine. We're gonna go to the ACC in a second, and then we're gonna have a lot more people on that list, man, because it is first team All-Americans Kyle Costanzo and Buck Stoner. And that's funny because Kyle Costanzo is actually only the second running back behind Damian Martinez, the 94 overall senior, who is definitely gonna declare. And then yeah, but Kyle Costanzo had a crazy good season, 23 touchdowns on the ground. And then Buck Stoner, he had 18 touchdowns through the air with, I think, about almost 1,800 yards. And Kyle Costanzo had almost 1,500 yards. So these two guys alone combined for more than 3,000 yards. Oh, and I forgot the receiving yardage from Costanzo, even though it's not that much. But more than 3,000 yards, these two guys. Didn't make anybody else here, I think. Safeties again. Shaheem Brown from Florida State on this list, obviously. They got the other edge rusher, Marvin Jones, here for the first team. And Darrell Jackson, the defensive tackle. That was a pain, man. Darrell Jackson, man. That kid is so good. And he was an absolute pain. And then second team ACC. Luke Kromenhoek, the quarterback. Roydale Williams, the running back for Florida State. The receiver, Destin Hill, even though he didn't do that much in that game. Yeah, Patrick Payton, the edge rusher, is on this list again. And then we have also actually a guard, Zach Rice. He makes it And he's going to return as well. 88 overalls don't usually declare. And Travis Shaw, also an 88 overall defensive tackle. He is also a junior, so we also expect him to return for next season. And I hope these two guys are getting even better. They're the two best players on the team, and we're counting on them. And then our punter actually was second team All-American for the ACC, Tom McGuinness, the kid from Melbourne, Australia. Now, for the freshmen, we had actually a bunch of players. We started off with Michael Merdinger, the quarterback, who did have a very nice season. Not quite as good as some of the other quarterbacks, but that's just because we ran it a lot. And then Kyle Costanza and Buck Stoner obviously have to make it. And then we have a center in Aiden Banfield. So I hope he has a good development boost in the offseason. We really have to count on that. And then nobody else on defense makes it. I don't think we had any starters, freshman starters on defense. Let me think. No, that's a junior. That was a sophomore, and then a couple of more sophomores, and at safety and corner it was only seniors. Oh, actually, no, Jaden Patterson was on there. Yeah. No, no worries. We have the schedule from last year. We started out with a few wins, a few blowouts out of conference, and then we started conference play with Stanford. That was an easy win. Cal, that was an easy win. Duke was an easy win, and Syracuse was an easy win. And then for some reason, we just out of nowhere, we lost to Wake Forest. We were down by 3 scores at halftime. We did get back in the game. It was 21-20 with like a half a minute left, and the Wake Forest scores a one-play touchdown or something. Yeah, and that cost us the conference championship game. So after that, we had to win out in order to make it, and we still did not make it, even though we won. And again, at the end of the season, the tough game against NC State, that's been happening a couple times now, because in the first season we had a 16-14 win, this time a 17-13 win. Maybe next season we can make it an 18-12 win or something like that. But yeah, sorry. Let's move on to the playoff picture. I actually forgot. I wanted to put a clip of all the conference championship games in here, but I forgot about it. Hopefully next year. We did have a pretty easy road. That's why I kind of felt like we didn't deserve to go to the Natty. We played UTSA and Kansas State. Those were the two easiest opponents we could have faced, and then in the Michigan game, we should have been blown out. They should have won this game by 3 scores, and they just gave it away at the end. But let's move on to the individual season stats. After a very, very successful season, we had a crazy good stat line by our quarterback, almost 4,000 yards, 31 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kyle Costanzo, almost 1,500 yards, 23 touchdowns. He did fumble it 3 times, but he ran it 355 times, man. That is a lot. Caleb Hood had 169 carries for 663 yards, 5 touchdowns, no fumbles. Jordan Louis had a few carries, 3 touchdowns, no fumbles. Brian Malik, I gave him a couple games. He looked really sharp, but he was redshirted, so we're gonna see him next year. I hope he has a good offseason. And then Kobe Pesor got a few carries there, but nothing too important. And then for receivers, it was the Buck Stoner show, definitely. Almost 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. He had a great season, no doubt about it. And I hope he's going to have a big offseason as well. He needs to develop a little bit some of his route running ability and stuff, but we'll see. Kobe Pesor is the second receiver. He's a senior. This was his last season. He got all the slot work. He had a lot of targets. 678 yards actually doesn't look like much yardage for that number of targets, but he had 4 touchdowns. Solid slot production, I'd say. Jake Johnson, I did give him the ball a lot more than I usually do to tight ends, but he looks pretty good. It's his junior season. He's gonna come back. Jordan Shipp, freshman, 373 yards and 2 scores. And then we had Kyle Costanzo. He actually got 42 receptions in 16 games. That is 2.5 receptions per game. That's actually not that much, now that I think about it, but still, that's still some yardage, man. That means he made it over 1,800 yards from scrimmage, man. That is crazy. And then for sacks, we're just gonna take a quick look at this. We have a senior here, 8 sacks for Malik McGowan. He was the weak link. He's gonna graduate, so the left guards, but it's gonna be even more fragile next year. Trevion Green and Eli Sutton, our tackles, also weren't in great shape or anything, but I think they're gonna have. Actually, Sutton is gonna graduate, but Green is gonna stay. He's gonna hopefully be better next year. And then for tackles, man, Ashton Woods was flying all over the field, man. But overall, I don't think he had much actual production. He was just the cleanup crew. But yeah, he didn't really like achieve crazy things. Now, Bo Atkinson had actually a pretty good season as a run stopper, just like Travis Shaw. Travis Shaw had 20 TFLs and 4 sacks. Ashton Woods, I mean, it's a solid middle linebacker season, but he also missed some coverage calls, some holes to fill in run defense and stuff. But yeah, Malik Hamrick, 45 sacks. Yeah, I know this is never gonna happen in real life. I think it's the quick jump ability. It's just too OP, and yeah, I didn't use him at all, not even one snap the entire season. And he still got 45 sacks, and I didn't even run many blitzes. He just did it by himself. 13.5 sacks for Bo Atkinson, which is very respectable. And then Laura, 7 sacks as a rotational defensive tackle. That is actually pretty good. Travis Shaw, only 4 sacks. That was a little bit disappointing, but he is more of a run stopper anyway. And then 4 interceptions, man. Marcus Allen, the senior corner, he propelled us to that championship, national championship game by himself. He had the 2 picks in the end zone in the 4th quarter. Man, we couldn't have done it without him. And yeah, this is his final season. Dorian Green, he's going to return. He had 3 picks last year. I think he is at a fine number 2 corner. And then Jaden Patterson, the freshman free safety. He had a pretty solid season, I think. 2 interceptions, that's not bad. And then Caleb Cost, DeAndre Boykins. It's the slot corner and the strong safety, just doing regular work, nothing spectacular. Hamrick, on 45 sacks, had only 2 forced fumbles. That is actually not much at all. And then we have Dorian Green with a forced fumble. That is interesting because corners usually don't get forced fumbles, but he did there, and I think it was very important because I remember it was at the sideline there, and we wouldn't have won the game without that forced fumble. I think we would have lost and not made it to the playoffs at all, man. Yeah, Costanzo actually was 2nd in the nation rushing yardage. He led the nation in touchdowns, in rushing touchdowns, but he got beat out by Roy Dale Williams, and I think he would have made it. He would have definitely gotten those 50 yards to get him to the top rank if he hadn't been hurt on his first run in the national championship game. That was so disappointing to see. Buck Stoner, 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns. That's going to lead the nation. Not the touchdowns, but the yardage. And then for team stats, we actually did have one of the best offenses in the league or in the nation. You have to admit, however, these numbers are inflated because we played a lot more games than, for example, I don't know, Boise State. But yeah, passing offense, we apparently are top 10, but we're not really. We are top 10 in rushing offense, and this is why, man. This rushing offense was very good. We were only beaten by Michigan and Air Force, so that is pretty good. Now, Florida State is also on this list as well, but they only had 1 running back doing it. We had 2 running backs with 2,000 yards combined. So crazy stuff there. And then points per game, that's actually not bad, 31.9. I'm pretty happy with that, especially since our defense has been pretty good. I'm okay with like a top 20 offense in the nation. 32 points a game, that should win you most games. Passing touchdowns, we were actually one of the bottom teams in that category just because we just didn't pass it much in the red zone. We have our running backs and we know we're gonna win with them. And yeah, I know this, it looks like we're a top 20 team in passing touchdowns. It's just these numbers are inflated because we played in the national championship game and Southern Mississippi for instance, did not make the playoffs, so they didn't have any extra games, you know. So that's why this number is so inflated. And yeah, rushing touchdowns. This number is not inflated, however, because we ran it a bunch and we deserve to be up there. Most first downs in the nation. No surprise. That's just logical after we ran it so much, and also we played 16 games as opposed to the usual 12, so that's gonna help. And then for defense, we actually in the nation, it seems like we have a below average defense, but I think if you like divide it by games played, I think we're one of the best defenses in the nation. The passing yardage allowed, well, I mean, what are you gonna do? Can't compete, man. Especially with that Florida State game, man. These guys were just passing it all over this defense. But we had the best run defense in the entire nation, and I'm not surprised at all by that, because we actually do have a good run defense, and that's more important. If you're up all the time, if you're winning most games, the opponents have to throw it. So obviously they're not gonna run it in the fourth quarter if they're down by 14 or something, you know. That doesn't make any sense. But that's a crazy stat. Points allowed, man. We're top 10 in points allowed in the entire league, and that's not a per game stat. That's just like a full season stat. So even though we played 4 more games than most teams in this list, we are still a top 10 team on that list, man. And then obviously we had most sacks in the nation. We only created 4 takeaways from fumbles. We had 5 fumbles forced. We fell on 4 of them, or maybe it was 6. I'm not sure, but we got 4. That's not much. We did do solidly in the. Well, no, actually, now that I think about it, this number is also inflated. It should be much lower. It should be like at 9 or 10 interceptions if you take away those from the playoff. I don't know. It's kind of hard to compare these numbers between teams that had 12 games this season and teams that had 16 games, so that's kind of tough. But one thing that is not tough to see is actually our the third down percentage, man. 52%, second in the nation, only behind Miami. No surprise there. We were running it so much. We had so many easy third downs, like 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 and stuff. You're not going to have that percentage if you throw it a lot, because there will be 3rd down and 10s, 3rd and 8s and stuff. 4th down percentage, also very good. And we went for it a bunch, man. And then offensive red zone percentage. We did not do as well as I would have hoped, honestly. And I was not aware that this was actually a thing. We only converted 46 of our 87 attempts into touchdowns. That is actually pretty bad. If you want to win games, you have to take touchdowns. You can't just give up and just kick field goals all the time. And even with field goals, we didn't have a great percentage. So that also means we had a bunch of turnovers in the red zone, and that's just no good for anybody. Red zone efficiency for the defense, however, well, that is a spectacular number. And obviously Michigan had to win that category. There is no surprise on that one, but we were very good on defense in the red zone. And yeah, turnovers, we are looking solid. We didn't have many giveaways. We had 2 interceptions. We lost 2 fumbles. I think both of them by Kyle Costanzo. We did have a bunch of takeaways, a few interceptions, forced fumbles, but yeah, our forced fumble number is just so low, and if it were like 8 or 9 or 10, the turnover differential would be outrageously good. So it's just we didn't really force many fumbles, and well, nothing you can do about that right now, but hopefully next year we're going to change that. Career record for the entire nation. Malik Hamrick is now the career leader on sacks. And for season records, we have Buck Stoner make it. 1,800 yards is the best. He overtakes Bryson Nesbitt with that. Actually, that's only for the ACC. That's not for the national level. But Buck Stoner broke a couple of records here. He also had the most receptions in a season, and I think that's only due to the 16-game season we had this year. And then Molly Hamrick, 45 sacks in one season. That's also never going to be repeated. That is also a stat that he won on the national level. But we did not win with all of these other records. And then DeAndre Hopkins and Buck Stoner are now tied for touchdown catches in a season, as they have both 18, but the list still shows only DeAndre Hopkins. Passing yardage for UNC season record is now broken by Michael Merdinger. We had already broken the rushing yardage record by Omarion Hampton, which I don't think is going to be broken anytime soon. Buck Stoner, he gets the receiving yards record after he got it for the ACC, obviously. That will also apply for UNC receiving yards and receptions and touchdowns, all broken by Buck Stoner this season. And I think that's just accumulative from the fact that we had a 16-game season instead of 12 or 13. And then Kyle Costanzo actually broke the running back rushing touchdowns record for North Carolina. We'll see how this is going to develop into the next season, but we did break a bunch of records. And now this is the sad part. We're going to be in players leaving now. And the saddest one is definitely Marcus Allen, our number one corner. He was very quiet in his 2 years that we played here in this dynasty, but he was very solid in coverage. He never allowed big plays, and he stepped it up big time in the Michigan game to propel us to the national championship game. DeAndre Boykins, just a safety that he did play much. He didn't play particularly spectacular, but still sad to see him go. Kobe Paysour, our slot receiver. We're going to lose our left tackle in Eli Sutton. We're going to lose our punter. And then Connor Harrell, the quarterback. He wants to transfer out of here for playing time. And I have decided I will let him go because we have Michael Merdinger, who's a freshman. And I don't think Harrell has much of a future here. So this is his chance to go somewhere else and play out his campaign. Hopefully at a different college. And then we lose our dime corner and a bunch of backups here. Our backup running back, a backup tackle, our starting left guard, and a backup center. Now, players that are going to be leaving that I want to highlight is our backup running back, Caleb Hood, because he actually did play a lot, especially in fourth quarters when Kyle Costanza was already worn down. Caleb Hood came in, he did a very nice job. He had 3.9 yards per carry. That in college is actually pretty bad, honestly, but he was good enough as a relief back for us to run out clocks, win games in the fourth quarter, and I think he did a solid job. Didn't play much last season because we had two other backs last year, but he was solid. He did have 104 receiving yards, and 14.9 average is actually pretty good on these receptions. And almost all of his yards came after the catch. That's crazy number. Kobe Paysour. He was our slot receiver, 6'1", 190 out of North Carolina. He was a route runner, and it looked like it as well. That kid was open a lot. We usually threw underneath stuff to him, so he never had the big deep balls or anything. So his yards per catch is not great, but he was very reliable in his senior season, and I'm happy that he was a part of this team. He did have 678 yards and 4 touchdowns. He didn't have any touchdowns last year. His combined yardage is about 820, and yeah, I'd say this was a solid senior campaign from him. He was the number one receiver going into the season, but he really didn't make anything happen with it. And so I decided Buck Stoner is the way to go. And that's why Buck Stoner ended up with that season. But Kobe Paysour still had a solid enough season. Our left tackle is going to be gone as well. Eli Sutton, an 84 overall, not going to be drafted. Just because 84 overalls don't get drafted in this game. He was not a crazy good tackle. I think he was solid. He did what he had to do to get by, and he allowed 5 sacks this year. I think that's okay for a guy like him. I think that's a good number. If he was a little bit better, I would argue, okay, you need to tune it down with the sacks or something. But that was a solid senior campaign for him. Our left guard, Malik McGowan, he actually was a weakness. He definitely was not great. When we ran it behind him, I just ran it a lot more to the right because our right guard is great and this guy's not. And but still, he was a 79 overall. He didn't play horribly. He did allow 8 sacks. He allowed some pretty big pressure as well. But overall, I'd say that was actually a solid season, even though he did allow a few sacks. And then we're gonna have our corner graduate, Marcus Allen. This is a sad one. He's a great man cover corner, but he has also very solid zone coverage and decent enough athleticism. Very happy that he was a part of our team for 2 years. He was the number 1 corner for 2 years. He's battle tested, and he only had 2 career interceptions until he played that national championship game, and then he got 2 more in just the 4th quarter there. So yeah, that's a fun thing. But he did have a good season last year as well. He just didn't have any picks. But if you don't get targeted, then you're not gonna have any picks, obviously. We're also gonna lose our dime corner, Tyrone Stewart. He didn't play much. He played a little bit. Our situation just didn't allow him on the field that much, and I would say, or I would argue, that the main reason is his zone coverage. 75 zone coverage, that's just not a great value, and we had a few corners that were better, and he also was not the greatest athlete on this team either. He did not have any picks this year. He did have one last year. He was a dime corner last year as well, I think. And yeah, he did have 4 TFLs, which for a dime corner with sparing playing time, that's actually not bad. And then our safety, DeAndre Boykins, he's also gonna leave. He was just never the guy with the craziest stats or anything. He also made a few mistakes. I think, if I remember correctly. No, actually, it was somebody else. That was somebody else. We had a different strong safety last year. No, I just thought that he was the guy that allowed the Ohio State touchdown at the end of that game last year in the playoffs. But he just didn't have any great stats or anything. So, yeah. Draft results, we only had 1 player drafted. It's Marcus Allen. Surprise, surprise. He went in the 6th round. Good enough. That's our only guy this year. I can tell you right now, we're going to have a bunch more guys next year, because there's a bunch of juniors that hopefully have big boosts. Now we're going to move on here to the National Signing Day, which is always the way to find out here. Number 1 player in the nation, Nick Shabazz, he has star dev. And then number 2 player in the nation, Terrell Speed, has elite dev, and he looks already crazy. But yeah, we had the number 1 and 2 players in the entire nation commit to us. So that's fun, and they have great dev traits as well. Good news. Josh Board, he has star dev, 5-star receiver out of Culver City, California. Very excited about him, but even more excited, honestly, about Jimmy Toledo. He has star dev, but the crazy thing about him is this kid is 6'6" with 91 speed and 91 acceleration. This dude is a tight end with receiver speed, man. Jimmy Toledo, so excited about him. And then we get a tight end. We get a left tackle with star dev, a right tackle with impact, but he's only a 4-star. We get a guard with 5-star guard with star dev. And then a normal dev center in Callum Elston. We get a star dev center in Rashawn Soto. So very excited. Actually, Elston is a guard. Soto is a center. And then Justice Ezekiel was listed as a center, but he's an athlete, and I recruited him to play guard. And he is also star dev. So pretty exciting dev trades for our offensive linemen. And now let's move on to the defense. Man, this stocky kid looks unreal. Star dev for him. I missed the dev on Anthony Dingle, but I think it was also star. I'm not sure. Zach Moma, Duke Shelley. Man, he has elite dev. Duke Shelley, Dom Shelley. He has elite dev, and he's a great athlete, man. And then another elite dev linebacker, Jordan Velasquez out of Texas. And then yet another one. 3 elite dev linebackers, man. Our linebacker core in a couple years is gonna look absolutely ridiculous. Then we have a star dev corner, another star dev corner. We only got 1 safety, and he has also star dev. All these 5-star players, man, it's looking crazy good. In a couple of years, this team is going to be absolutely nuts. And yeah, we've got a kicker with impact dev. That's fine. He has already 92 kick power. Pretty happy about that. And then top classes. Well, obviously, we got the number 1 class in the entire country. If you get 15 5-stars, that's usually going to do the trick. We got almost 50% of all 5-stars from this recruiting class. We got 5 4-stars just to fill out a few spots there. Didn't need too many players this year. And 2 3-stars, that's a fullback and a kicker. Transfer portal. This is actually after I completely jumped the transfer portal because we didn't need anybody. But Connor Harrell actually didn't get a single offer, and I never saw him again. He's not on any roster. This is me talking after the offseason. He's gone. So at that point, I actually am kind of sorry that I didn't get him back. But we're not going to see him anymore. Training results. Merdinger didn't get any training results, and this is what the sad part is, man. I think Connor Harrell, he could have taken the lead for this next season, I think. Fusha was his name. Look the pronunciation up. It's a Portuguese name. He did get a nice boost. Kowalkowski did not at all. But the show still belongs to Merdinger. Brian Malik had a massive overall jump in training results here. +8 overall. He is now an 80. Actually, no, hang on. He was a 74 overall. He was a 74 overall. He got a +12 jump. Are you kidding me? Costanzo got a +6, which still looks crazy, but Malik is +12 jump. And O'Connor got +7 overall in training. So our 3 running backs from that draft class from last year look absolutely ridiculous. And now Jordan Louis didn't get any bump at all, so he's now a junior, sitting behind 3 younger players than him. And Darren Pounce, he was a receiver from last year's class that I turned into a running back because he was already capped out. He didn't really develop much. I don't really see much of a future for him, but he's gonna stay on the roster for now. Not a good jump there, but the story about Brian Malik going up +12 is absolutely crazy. Now, Jordan Shipp, he made a big jump, +8 overall in the offseason. In training, he looks to be a top receiver next year. But Buck Stoner also went up +7, so these 2 are going to be the number 1 and 2. And everybody else is just going to, get fed scraps, I guess. Christian Hamilton looks to be the number 3 receiver on this team. He went up by +4, I think. Maybe +5. Nothing crazy, but nice dev for Christian Hamilton. And then we've got Marquise Brooks. Redshirted him last year. He gets a +4. He was a 79 overall, I think. So he's a +4 overall. He's now an 83 overall player. And then Chris Culliver didn't get a crazy good jump from training results, but he now has 99 speed, 99 acceleration. Maybe we will have to find some ways to use that. Leon Sharp got a +4. Alex Taylor actually +8. I think he was a 71 overall. So that's actually very good. Maybe he's gonna get some playing time in the future. But yeah, Javarius Green, he didn't get a jump at all, I think. So he's the big loser of this offseason. And then Clyde Upshaw +2 overall. Not crazy good either, but Clyde Upshaw has one thing going for him. He could also be a running back, and maybe I'm gonna turn him into one. We'll see about that, but the big winner definitely here, Jordan Shipp and Buck Stoner. 4 tight ends, Jake Johnson, I think that's like a +4 overall. Nothing spectacular, but good enough. He's gonna be drafted next year with that overall. Julian Randolph, he was almost maxed out, so didn't expect him to go up by a lot, so he didn't. Like Reddy actually had a nice bump, and Hollings didn't have any gains at all. So Hollings is the loser from this tight end class or group. Now let's move on to tackle. We had a tackle graduate, so we had people that needed to do something in the offseason, and we didn't really get it. Desmond Jackson, so Howard Sampson was actually the guy that I was betting on getting the big jump, but he didn't. He only had a +2 win, I think. And our other 4-star tackle that I recruited last year, he didn't have the greatest jump either. I think it's a +4 or something. But the biggest disappointment here is this left guard, Bo Burks. He didn't get any off-season dev at all, so he's now still a 76 overall, and we'll have to find a solution for that. Now, Aiden Banfield, +2 overall, not much, but Bermudez also +2 overall maybe, so not much either. So left guard and center still a concern on this team. And now right guard, Zach Rice didn't have any off-season dev at all. Still an 88 overall. Can't do anything about that. And that Grigsby guy also didn't have a big offseason. The one with the big offseason along the O-line is actually Trevion Green. He did go up by +4 or 5, and he's going to be a very solid tackle. Spencer Dock didn't have a great offseason, and this Rosinski guy also nothing much. So the O-line devs just didn't really work out this year. But the defense actually, on the other hand, looks pretty solid now. Bo Atkinson had a good jump, +4. Greg Barmore, I think also +5. Curtis Simpson, I don't think he got a big jump. But he got overtaken out by younger guys, so that's always bad. Malik Hamrick, +4 overall. Eric Daniels, this guy came out of nowhere. He looks really good, man. I'll talk about it in a second, but he looks really solid. And now he is threatening Hamrick there. And then Ty Burks had a nice offseason jump as well. He was a tight end I recruited last year, and he was already maxed out. So I was like, okay, let's put him at a different position where he can actually grow. Travis Shaw didn't have much of a jump. Joel Starlings, Rodney Laura, Liddell Grant, and Ken Whittington. All 5 of these, I think none of them gained even 1 overall point. I think all of them stayed exactly the same. And even our defensive tackles that we recruited last year here in Jerry and Vernon didn't get good offseason boosts. So the defensive tackle spot is exactly the same as last year. Didn't develop at all, and we're going to lose a couple of those players. For the linebackers, Jason Hepburn has a nice bump, +5 overall. So does J. Brown Harvey, but we're going to talk about these 2 guys in a second as well. At middle linebacker, this is the biggest winner in the linebacker room. It's Ashton Woods, +8 overall. Very good offseason for our number 1 linebacker. And then Jesse Blunt, honestly, a little bit disappointed in him. He didn't really do much. So he's +2 overall, I think. And then the other 3 linebackers, I think they all stayed the same overall. They're Short, Harris, and Mership. And then Caleb Lavalley, he did get a nice offseason boost. I think +3, +4 overall. Not too much, but solid enough. He's still going to be starting. And then Amari Campbell didn't really win anything, but I wasn't counting on him anyway. Caleb Cost, our slot corner, looks to be our number 1 corner this year. He's now the best corner by overall on the team. Steven Slate had a massive jump, +7, I think. So he jumps up there. Moses Riggins, a 5-star corner I recruited last year. This is also +6, I think. And then Dorian Green. He didn't have a great off-season training thingy, so that's disappointing. Ty Adams, 82 overall. I think it was a 79 last year or something. Khalil Conley's an 80. Ben Shaw. All these guys on the list didn't make crazy. Didn't have crazy training results. Nothing to talk about there. But our safety situation, man, Jaden Patterson, he just stays 1 overall over Larry Rowe, just like he did last year. Actually, last year Rowe was rated higher than him when we came into the season, but I wanted to redshirt Rowe. And now Patterson, he just made enough of a jump to stay ahead. The big winner at safety is actually Kareem Fallon. He had a +7. And Emmanuel Ruse has a +5, I think. But Fallon is, for now, he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the starter. Fallon looks very good. And he's now apparently our best safety. That's pretty crazy to think about, man. Just came out of nowhere. He's a 4-star safety. He's not even a 5-star guy, right? And yeah, kicker and punter didn't do much. That's fine. But yeah, that's training results. And the one thing I forgot to mention, I didn't do any moves, like position moves. The only thing I did was like putting a guard to tackle, or putting a left end to right end, or putting a left outside linebacker to middle linebacker, stuff like that. So I didn't show any of that stuff, but now after training results and we find out that our left guard sucks and we need to do anything about it, we need to do something about it. I decided our left tackle Johnny Barr is gonna move over to left guard because I think he's better suited as a guard anyway from the get-go, just from his actually the strength is a little low for guard, but I thought that the ratings actually indicated he would be a good guard too, so that's why I moved him there. And now we're gonna go to the encouraged transfer stage. We need to cut 11 guys, and the first one to go is obviously Jordan Louis, the running back, because he's never gonna play. He's already behind the 8 ball by like 6 overall, and he's never gonna make it. No, by 8 overall. So he's never gonna play another snap with these running backs we have right now. And then there's a receiver, Javarius Green, that didn't do anything in the offseason. He's a pretty solid athlete, but he's never gonna play anymore because there's like 5 younger guys that are ahead of him already. And then we're gonna cut a tight end in Nick Hollins. Didn't do anything in the offseason. I think he was also almost maxed out, so I don't think he could have done much, but he's gonna be gone. And then we're gonna cut a left tackle. That is also never gonna play because we just recruited a 5-star who is already 5 overall better than him. That's going to be redshirted this year. Imagine how good this guy is going to be next year. And then at left guard, now that I moved Johnny Barr there, we're going to cut the guy that should have developed and should have been the starter because he didn't want to be the starter apparently. So we're going to cut him because he's not going to play anymore. And I think we're set for the future there. I think Johnny Barr is going to be just fine there. Nobody at center. And at right guard, there is a guy we need to cut. Grigsby didn't do anything. And that Onwenu guy, by the way, is a 5-star guard that I recruited last year. So we're set there as well after Zach Rice graduates. And then we're going to cut a right tackle because we have another right tackle that I just recruited that is already better than him as a true freshman. And now let's go to the other side of the ball. We've got an edge rusher here in Curtis Simpson. Same deal again. He's a worse and older alternative than the guy I already have brought in last year. For defensive tackle, we've got the same situation here again. Ken Whittington, he's a sophomore, but there is a freshman, 2 freshmen that are about the same overall as him. And he's just never going to see the field because we've got 2 other guys. And Zach Moma, that is a true freshman at 79 overall. So we've got 3 guys that are younger than Ken Whittington. And then on the other edge spot, I thought about cutting Ty Burks, but I want to give him a chance. He had a good offseason jump, and I think he has some more room to grow. The guy I actually want to cut is actually Daniel Anderson. Already behind the 8 ball there, didn't have a good training results thingy, and Anthony Dingle, the 5-star edge rusher I brought in last year, he's already better than him as a true freshman. Now, Jabron Harvey, he had a good offseason, but this kid has 78 speed. And to me, that's not playable anymore. It was playable last year because I didn't have any other players and I wanted to redshirt Jason Hepburn. But now that I have a offseason jump from Jason Hepburn by about 5 overall, Hepburn has 91 speed against 78 speed, man. Harvey is never going to play anymore because he's just not as good as an athlete as he needs to be. And the same thing about that one is also true for John Murray Shipp. he's already so far behind. All these other players that are younger than him, he is never gonna play. So that's why I cut him. And that's gonna do it for the encouraged transfers. I could have cut more players, but if I don't need to, I won't. Now, a really fun thing I'm gonna do here is I completely revamped all the conferences. And I made them geographically have sense. And we're gonna have a crazy conference system here. The ACC is now all the teams from South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia. And I split them up into North and South. And we are in the North Division, so we're gonna play all the Virginia teams all the time, and half the North Carolina teams and all the South Carolina teams and a couple of the Southern North Carolina teams are in the ACC South. We're gonna have every conference like this, 2 divisions, a North, a South, or a East, a West, Northwest, Southeast, or something like that. Every conference is gonna be looking like that, and yeah, it's gonna be really fun. The American is now set up with all the teams from Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Indiana. Set them up in North and South as well. And yeah, every conference is set up like this. And we're also going to have a conference championship game for every conference, obviously. And it's going to be the 2 division winners every time. From the Big 12, this is the Texas plus Oklahoma division. All the 13 Texas teams and 3 Oklahoma teams are in this conference. I split it up into Northwest and Southeast. So Northwest is all the Oklahoma teams plus a few of the Western and Northern Texas teams. And then the Southeast is like everything in and around Dallas, San Antonio, and Houston. That's all the teams from there. Yeah, so that's the Big 12. That was a very fun thing to do for me. And then the Northwest, the Big 10 and Northwest is going to be all the Michigan teams, plus Toledo and Wisconsin. And the Big 10 Southeast is going to be all the Ohio teams. Well, and Toledo is moved to the Northwest. It didn't make up the numbers there, but Toledo is closest to Michigan, so I was like, okay, let's move them to Michigan, I guess. And then Conference USA, this is the Northeast Division, or the Northeast Conference. This is all the teams from New England, basically. We have UMass, Boston College, and UConn, plus the 3 New York teams in the North. And then we have all the Pennsylvania teams, plus Rutgers and the 2 Maryland teams in the Southern Division for the Conference USA. So this is going to be fun as well, seeing all the Pennsylvania teams, for instance, in one conference. That is just, yeah, that makes just too much sense. And then we have the FBS Independents. This is the only team that I actually that actually kept their independent status. From the MAC, we have a Northwest Division. That's the Kansas teams plus Minnesota, Nebraska, and the 2 Iowa teams. And then we have a Southeast Division. That is the 2 Arkansas teams plus all the Illinois teams and Missouri. So that's going to be an actual Mid-American conference that actually makes any sense in the middle of America. So that's going to be fun. And yeah, let's move on to the next division. We have the Mountain West Conference, and it's actually going to be the Mountain West Conference. The western half is going to be the 2 Arizona teams, the 2 Nevada teams, the two of the 3 Utah teams, and Boise State. And then the East is going to be the other Utah team plus 2 New Mexicos, 2 Colorados, and Wyoming. Yeah. And then the Pac-12 is actually going to be all the Pacific teams. So all the states from the Pacific Coast. The South is going to be Hawaii and San Jose State, San Diego State, Fresno State, UCLA, and USC. And then the North is going to be the 2 Oregon teams, the 2 Washington teams, and the Northern California teams in Stanford and California, even though they're not really Northern California teams. But that's how I split them up. And that's going to be fun as well to have all the West Coast teams again reunited. And then the SEC, that's going to be the 7 Florida teams and the 5 Georgia teams. And I split it up into East and West actually, because it was just more fun to see to have a little bit more mixture between Georgia and Florida teams. It was a little bit cooler to do instead. I could have done North and South, and then would have been 5 Georgia teams plus Florida State in the one division, and then the other 6 Florida teams. And it was just weird to me that Florida State would then be not playing any Florida teams in their own division. So I split it up East and the West and had at least USF join them there. The Sun Belt, that's gonna be all the Alabama teams. That's 6 plus the 5 Louisiana teams and 3 Mississippi teams. So we have in the East all the Alabama teams and Ole Miss, and in the West all the Louisiana teams plus Southern Mississippi and Mississippi State. And that's gonna be very fun. Now, let's move on to the roster. This is going to be just me talking about the roster for a good half hour, so if you want to skip ahead, that's fine. It's just I want to take a look at these players and explain what the season's going to look like for these players. Michael Merdinger didn't have an off-season boost to his rating, sadly, even though he has lots of space underneath his caps. He's still the best quarterback on the team. I don't know what to tell you. He has 92 short accuracy, 96 medium accuracy. It's just too good to pass up. This is still the style of offense I want to run with the short passes and the runs. We're not going to switch the offense up massively. We're going to have a little bit more passing focus this year, but not enough to make me want to go, okay, I need a deep passer. So Merdinger is the starter. Rayshawn Foucha, he had a good offseason. He went up by, I think, +4 or +5. He's a solid quarterback. He has good short and medium accuracy, just not as good as Merdinger. And yeah, the arm is actually already maxed out. That's a little bit sad to see, but yeah, Foucha depends on what he does next offseason. But if he again takes a good jump and Merdinger doesn't, he might be the starter next year. Who knows? Now, this is our true freshman, number 1 recruit in the entire country, Nick Shabazz. And he's going to be redshirted. I thought about it for a second, but he is not quite as accurate as I need him to be. Merdinger is just the better accurate quarterback. That being said, Shabazz has the best arm, the best throw power. And I'm very happy to see him play, hopefully next year, maybe in a couple years. Especially because of that speed, man. He's the fastest quarterback we have on the team. That's not called Kowalkowski, who didn't have any offseason boost, which is why I will not be showing him here. Now, the big winner at running back is Brian Malik. That really came out of nowhere. +12 overall, man. Unreal stuff. He's a crazy good elusive back, but he has also very good hands. This kid could legitimately play receiver and win. I think of this guy as Christian McCaffrey, because this is also the kind of speed that I expect from Christian McCaffrey. Like, good speed, but not deep burner speed. The other running back is Kyle Costanzo. He was the starter last year. He played very good, and he has now a 91 trucking, 86 strength, 89 stiff arm. He is going to be running people over this year as well. 88 carrying, very solid. He had 3 fumbles last year, which is to be expected on 355 carries. That was a pretty crazy number, honestly. But yeah, the elusive stuff for him is just not really there yet, but I expect him to be the number one running back again, and Brian Malik is going to be the number 1 receiving back. And usually you get like a 60-40 split out of that. So Malik is going to get like the 40 split there this year. Now, Robert O'Connor also had a good offseason. He went up +6. And usually that would be very good. But since we already have Costanzo and Malik, who had even bigger jumps, Robert O'Connor is going to sit on the bench. But I want to still show him because he did good in the offseason, and I can't see it. He's a good power back. And one day there will be use for him when Kyle Costanzo decides to declare for the NFL next year, I'm guessing. Terrell Speed is our number 2 recruit from the last year, and the number 2 in the entire country. Right off the bat, 90 trucking, 89 stiff arm. Right off the bat, man. He has that stuff already as a true freshman. He's going to be redshirted this season. He's just still not as good as Kyle Costanzo is right now. But I expect Terrell Speed to have a big offseason jump next year. And if he does, he is going to be taking over. So Kyle Costanza really is gonna have to work for his spot there. And Terrell Speed, he has, as the name says, a lot of speed. Now, we have also recruited a fullback. I'm planning on redshirting him right now. The thing is, I like having a fullback on the roster because it means that you're actually having somebody on the roster that knows how to block and not just put a blocking tight end there that usually doesn't have great lead block. This kid is already almost maxed out, but he's not quite ready to play, and I think for now it's better if we put a tight end there. But next year I'm expecting John Stark to be the starter. Now, our number 1 receiver is not Jordan Chip, even though he wears number 1, I know. He has good elusiveness. He's a very solid route runner, especially short and medium route running, 90 and 95. So that's already telling you what he's going to play next year. He's going to be the slot. He also has 94 catching, so I hope he's going to catch everything. He's going to be the new Kobe Paysour with even better athleticism and route running, and probably also hands. The still number 1 receiver on this team is obviously Buck Stoner, former 5-star that played as a true freshman. I installed him as the number 2 receiver, but quickly saw that he is the best receiver on this team, even though he's not by overall. But he's a crazy good deep ball guy. He is 6'3". He has 88 release and 86 short route running. He's like the physical archetype, I think. But all his catching ratings are in the 90s now. All of them. So, and spec catch is 96. I expect this kid to like have a George Pickens season, man. With even more catches. And yeah, the 94 speed, obviously. Like this kid, this kid's gonna be a problem, man. Christian Hamilton. On paper, the 3rd best receiver on this team, just from overall. Former 3-star, 6 foot, 190. He is good. Not on the outside, though, I'd say. He's going to be the number 2 slot receiver. He's definitely going to see the field. He's not going to see it as much as the first 2 guys we talked about. And that's because his catch and traffic is 73. His catchings are just not great, but I think Christian Hamilton, if he's really open that much as I expect, we're gonna see a lot of opportunities for him when we play in 10 personnel. Marquise Brooks, on paper, the number 4 receiver from overall, 6'3", 199 out of Missouri. He is now basically maxed out. As a player, he's a physical archetype receiver, I think. His route runnings are solid. He has a little bit of room to grow there even. But the thing about him is it's definitely his spec catch and it's his catch and traffic. This is the go ball guy on the other side of Buck Stoner. He's the number 2 outside receiver on this team, so it's going to be definitely the Buck Stoner and Marquise Brooks duo on the outside there, and then we have Ship and Hamilton on the inside. And the odd man out is Chris Culliver. This is the 99 speed kid. I don't think he has it. 74 catch and traffic, almost no route running ability, wins purely with speed. He is not going to see the field much, I have to say. If he had done a little bit of more work in the offseason, that would have been something to talk about. Maybe you add like 3-4 points to each route running, and then you're like, okay, this kid actually knows how to route run, so maybe he wins like that. And then you can talk about it, but they don't really have a great offseason. Now, 2 players that are going to be redshirted are our 2 5-star receivers from the last recruiting class. They're not quite ready to start yet. This kid is not a great route runner. Josh Board is his name. His catching's actually already good enough to play, but we have better receivers at the moment, and I'm not planning on putting him on the field this year. The 94 speed, 90 acceleration combo, you have to say, man, it reminds me a lot of Buck Stoner. Jimmy Toledo, this is the kid I'm most excited about. He's out of East Texas, 6'6", 211 pounds. This dude's a tight end with receiver speed. Now, he's not ready to play yet, and again, it's the route runnings. 71 medium, 71 deep, that's just too bad. I would love to play these guys right now, but we have better receivers, and I'm gonna play the best guys we have. And Jimmy Toledo just didn't make the cut this season, but he's gonna be redshirted. In training, he has a chance next year to compete and take over. Our tight end situation is pretty much the exact same thing as last year. Jake Johnson, he's the number 1 guy. Decent receiving option. Has very good hands. The route running's not quite, but very solid, very reliable tight end with decent athleticism. Not much to talk about with him. He's not a great blocker. Don't expect him to be. That's fine. But he has enough athleticism to make it work as a tight end. The only other guy I want to talk about is the freshman I brought in, the recruit from last year, Trevor Brink, 6'4", 233. Not quite ready to start. The route running is pretty bad, but the hands on him are maxed out, and that's something that's very sad in this entire game. Vertical threat tight ends are just not worth it. They're never going to develop into draftable players. But the thing is, this kid has 86 speed and 89 XL. He's even better as a receiving threat than Jake Johnson, I'd say. He doesn't have much room to grow. He's not going to be drafted. That's fine. He's going to be good enough. Now, at left tackle, I have made the decision that Desmond Jackson is going to be the starter this year. He is elite. Not elite, but very good in pass pro, and that's what sets him apart from, what's the other guy's name? Howard Sutton? I'm not sure anymore. That's what sets him apart from the other guy. Mitch Jefferson is the guy that I am expecting to take over next year. A 6'8", 329 left tackle. 5-star recruit from last year. Already very powerful. He has a big weakness with the run block finesse and the pass block finesse. But next year, I expect him to be ready to take over and drive this thing home at left tackle. The left tackle that I converted into a guard, that was my plan last year to take over, but he didn't have a big offseason jump. He would have been the starter, I'd say, if he had a big offseason jump. But it's the blindside tackle. I need somebody to be reliable there. Now, Johnny Barr did still, he made still some ground here. He developed a little bit at least, and his pass protection is very solid. Even his run blocking is very solid, which is why I put him at guard now. I hope that's good enough. This 83 strength rating is a little bit concerning, but I don't really have another option. We also recruited a 5-star. I think this was the center that I wanted to turn into a guard. And not quite ready. The run blocking, the pass blocking is in the 70s. That's not good enough at the moment. But next year, who knows how much he develops. He might take over next year. We'll see. There is also some competition. We've got a 4-star guard, Callum Elston, that I recruited also last year. He's also going to be redshirted, just like Justice Ezekiel. And Callum Elston, he's very much capped. That was something that was very disappointing to me when I saw that. But if he has a nice offseason next year, who knows? But right now, the pass block in the mid-70s, not good enough. We have Johnny Barr. He is definitely the better one right now. At center, Aiden Banfield. He is almost maxed out now. He didn't really have a big offseason jump, but now I know why, because he didn't really have an opportunity to grow much. So for now, he's going to be the starter. Next year, not so sure about that, because next year, I hope the Bermudas overtakes him, but I also have yet another player there that might be overtaking him, and his name is Rashawn Soto. Was also a 4-star recruit. Out of Elon, North Carolina. He's almost uncapped, and he looks great, man. Just not at the moment. His run blocking well, that run block power is pretty bad. And for the pass protection, it's even worse. 64 pass block power, not at the moment, no thank you. But if he has a nice offseason next year, who knows what's happening? We have 276 overall centers that are going to be backups this year. Soto is going to be redshirted, obviously. I hope one of them makes the jump to overtake Banfield, and then we're going to be fine. Right guard, still set. Zach Rice, still ready to play. He's the best player on the offense for overall, and he's a great pass protector. It's a little bit sad actually that he didn't get any overall jumps in this offseason, but he's still the best player on this O-line, and I expect him to do well. Yeah, Baraka Onwenu for whenever Zach Rice declares next year. Baraka Onwenu is going to be ready. A 5-star guard that I recruited last year. He's going to be redshirted this season. His caps could, well, that run blocking cap is not great, but he is already a very sound pass protector, and he is going to take over. Even if he doesn't get a single ratings boost in the next offseason, Baraka Onwenu, I can already say that right now, is going to be the starter next year at right guard. And then we have a right tackle here in Trevion Green, 6'8", 340, former 2-star who is now a senior and an 87 overall. Second best player on the offense, along with 2 receivers, and he is an elite pass protector. Nothing wrong with his game, and he's going to be set. And the thing is, for some reason, he's a higher overall at left tackle than at right tackle. So he's going to actually play at left tackle. He's going to be the left tackle, and our left tackle is going to be the right tackle from the depth chart. So Green is going to be protecting the blind side, and then Desmond Jackson is going to be the right tackle there. Now, I also recruited a 4-star right tackle here in Steven Kowalewski. He doesn't have the greatest caps, but I expect this kid to be able to take over next year. I hope he has a good offseason boost to at least get those run block ratings into the 70s, man. Because if he doesn't, then he's not a starter. Let's switch it over to the defense, where we have Bo Atkinson. 91 power moves. Looks really good. He had a great offseason, apparently. I think he's going to be ready to have even more sacks than last year. And 86 strength, 89 hit power. The run stopping is very good. Second best run stopping edge rusher on this team with that block shedding. And he even has 83 finesse moves, which should be a weakness for him, but it's not. He's going to be very solid. You're going to see him full-time, 100% of the snaps. And when he graduates next year and goes to the NFL, Connor Stockey is the one to take over. And I can say this with confidence as well. Even if Connor Stockey does not have a single ratings boost in the next offseason, he is going to be the starter because he's so good at the moment right now, man. The block shedding 74 could be better, but if he gets like +4 or +5 to block shedding next year, he's gonna be set, man. And even if he doesn't, he's already a great pass rusher. Now at right end, we have Malik Hamrick, the Heisman-winning edge rusher from last year. 93 finesse moves and 88 power moves. He has gotten even better. Is he gonna break 50 sacks this year? I don't know what's gonna happen, but one thing's for sure, he is the starter. Not 100% anymore, because he never actually developed his run stopping, and there is a guy that did. Eric Daniels, 6'5", 252, out of Kernersville, North Carolina. He had a big offseason boost, and his run stopping is now by a lot better than Malik Hamrick. Last year we could get away with it, but this year I'm actually going to put somebody out there in base personnel, in Eric Daniels. He's going to start in base personnel, but Malik Hamrick is still going to have all the opportunities at sacks in nickel and dime. So that's how I'm going to do that. And then we have a impact dev freshman 5-star edge rusher in Anthony Dingle, who is 83 power moves right off the bat, 77 finesse moves. That's already very solid as a pass rusher. Next year, when Mali Hamrick has gone to the NFL, Dingle is going to take over. He has 77 block shedding already. That's a very good starting point, considering that he also has 83 power moves and 77 finesse moves. He's a very good athlete, and I cannot wait to see him on the field. At defensive tackle, nothing for the overalls has changed for anybody except our 2 freshman starters. So Travis Shaw is still the same player he was last year, a menace in the run game. Not the greatest pass rusher, but good enough. We'll see. 87 power moves. Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. And maybe we can actually break the 5-sack barrier this year. He only had 4 sacks last year. That's 4 games per sack. That's not a crazy good number. Number 2 defensive tackle, Joel Starlings. He is a very good pass rusher. His run stopping is lagging behind by a lot. And yeah, he's very powerful. But 79 block shedding as a junior, I'd say you could do better than that. Rodney Laura is the 3rd defensive tackle you're going to see this year. Travis Shaw is going to play 100% of the snaps. And Starlings, even though he's not the strongest run defender, he's going to be the defensive tackle too in base. And I think also in nickel and Laura is just going to be the 3rd defensive tackle that's going to come into the game, because 65 block shedding is just not enough to play rundowns. And he's also not as good as a pass rusher as Starlings is. Now, the other defensive tackle I want to show you is the guy we recruited last year. He's going to be redshirted this year. He's not going to play, but just know this kid's going to be good because he has already 84 power moves. He has 92 strength, and only those 2 ratings alone would be enough for me to say after Travis Shaw's goes to the NFL, he's going to play next year. But he's also already a better run stopper than a couple of the other guys, so that's going to be good. Starter at left outside linebacker is going to be Jason Hepburn. He's also going to be the number 2 linebacker in nickel and nickel personnel. His pass coverage is debatable. It's not great. It's also not horrible, but he's a good run stopper with crazy athleticism. So this kid's definitely, he knows how to play, and you'll see him on the field. Dom Shelley, this is the kid that might overtake him for next year if Hepburn doesn't pay attention. Because Shelley is already a good pass coverage dude, but he has, I think, even better athleticism. The run stopping is not quite there yet. He's going to be redshirted this year, but the athleticism for Dom Shelley is utterly ridiculous. Ashton Woods is going to be the number 1 linebacker on this team. He had a very good offseason. +8 overall in training. He's very good in every phase of the game. He's going to be playing 100% of snaps. He's the middle linebacker 1. He's also going to be the sub linebacker 1. And combined with Hepburn, I think that should make for a pretty solid duo. And I think we're going to be set up a lot better than we were last year. But just look at this man. This kid has 90 zone coverage. And now, even though this guy is not a crazy good athlete, I think that's good. Now, Jordan Velasquez, this kid is special. Because I have never, in my entire CFB25 time, I have never seen a recruit with uncapped skills. He doesn't have a single skill cap. This kid is going to be unbelievable. And he also has some pretty good athleticism. I am so excited about Jordan Velasquez. He's going to be redshirted this year. Not going to play this year, but watch out next year, man. Uncapped. I cannot wait to see what Jordan Velasquez can do if he fills out all his caps, man. He's going to be a 99, definitely. Now, the starter at right outside linebacker is Caleb Lavalley with great pass coverage ability. He can definitely rush the passer if he needs to. The run stopping is pretty bad, but he's going to be the 3rd linebacker. just because we don't really have another well, I mean, I could play one of these 5-star linebackers, but I want to redshirt all of them and have them go onto the field next year. Because all of them have still weaknesses, and for Larry Butts, it's definitely the coverage. He's not ready to play in nickel, and yeah, that's okay with me. I can live with that. He's just not quite ready, and even the run stopping, like, he's a good tackler, but 67 block shedding is not good enough for me to say, okay, yeah, his athleticism is worth it to put him over Caleb Lavely. I think Lavely is a lot more polished as a linebacker, and that's why he's going to be the number 3. At corner, we have the best corner on the team per overall is Caleb Cost. Now, the thing is, he is not the best corner on this team, even though he is by overall. He has crazy good athleticism, I know that, but his zone coverage at 74 is not good enough. And he's also not an outside corner. His press is decent at best. I know he has crazy good speed, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to be the slot corner. Just like last year, he's going to play in the slot, and that already is probably going to give him 60-70% of snaps. Steven Slate, on paper, the second best corner on this team. He's crazy good in man coverage and press, and he has enough athleticism to run it. But 67 zone coverage. It's just so abysmal that I have decided, even though he had a +8 overall jump in training, he's not ready to hit the field as a full starter. Now, he has a lot of speed, just like Caleb Cost. So I have decided that Slate is going to be the number 2 slot corner. Because with that man coverage on the inside, I think he's going to be fine. Can run across the field and hit people and stuff, but he's not ready. The actual number 1 outside corner is going to be Moses Riggins, because he is very good in zone coverage, but he also can play press. 79 press, that should be enough to play most of the teams we are going to play. The run stopping is debatable, but that's why he's going to be an outside corner. The 68 tackling is not crazy, but he's going to be an outside corner. He's going to be the number 1 we're going to have on this team, and he has 97 speed, so he can make up anything. The number 2 outside receiver corner that we actually have is going to be Dorian Green, even though he didn't do much in the offseason. He played number 2 corner last year, and he's going to do it again this year. He has the hands to pick up some passes. He did 3 interceptions last year. I expect him to do roughly the same this year again. The 76 zone coverage is not good or anything, but it's the second best we have from these 4 players. So these are the 2 outside corners. And then Slate and Cost are going to be in the slot. We have 2 more corners to talk about. The recruits from last year, they're going to be redshirted. None of them is ready to play, but that's fine. We have Manu Lorenz with 81 man coverage, 77 press. That's good right off the bat, but wait till you see the zone coverage, man. That's not playable at the moment. And I'm okay with that. He can wait, he can redshirt, he can learn it next year. He has 99 speed, just saying. Max Iorio, our first recruit from the last recruiting class. He was the first one to commit. 6'1", 203 out of Irmo, South Carolina. A 5-star recruit we had. I would love to play him, but he's not ready either. 68 press is not going to do it on the outside. 79 man, I mean, he could survive on that. It's not bad, but he virtually has no chance to pick a pass off with that 66 catching or something, and then he has only 68 zone coverage. So he's just not ready to play yet, and also his athleticism is not crazy good. So he needs to develop a lot of technique for him to be able to work with that athleticism. At safety, the starter is going to be Jaden Patterson, as Larry Rowe, still not the better player, even though he's a 5-star. Patterson played last year. I think he played fine. He made a few mistakes, definitely. Didn't do great, but he has 86 hit power, and he has very solid hands, 81. Now, Larry Rowe is just 1 overall less than him. Jaden Patterson, by the way, is the better athlete as well. And Larry Rowe is very comparable skill set wise, but he has 2 deficiencies compared to Patterson. Larry Rowe might have maybe the better coverage. He might have maybe the more solid IQ thingies. But what he does not have is the hit power and the hands. And that is why I'm gonna decide right here, like, we're gonna have to play Patterson. Rowe is just gonna have to sit on the bench and take it, because that 76 catching and hit power in like the 60s, it's just not good enough right now. If I have a chance to actually pick off a couple passes and maybe have a forced fumble, I'm gonna take that guy. We have also a third free safety to talk about. It's Ramon Paredes, a safety that I recruited last year. I know he looks good. He's not as good as Jaden Patterson, so we're gonna redshirt him this season. He does not quite have the same chance at turnovers that Jaden Patterson has. Now our best safety this year is gonna be Kareem Fallen, and he's gonna be starting. The redshirt freshman, I redshirted him last year. He developed into a 92 zone coverage safety. 92. You know how good that is, man? He is gonna be locking up that backfield there. Yeah, the catching 77, whatever. If somebody's so good with 92 zone coverage, and he has more than enough speed, it's not like he's a bad athlete. And that's going to be enough for me. 92 zone coverage is just absolutely elite. We have to put it on the field. And we're not going to talk about the other safeties for now, but yeah, Liam Boyd's the kicker. It's his senior season, by the way. So yeah, 94 kick power, 74 kick accuracy. Nothing crazy interesting or anything, but he is the kicker this year. And then we have a freshman punter, Shakir Kitchings, as we just graduated Tom McGinnis, the Australian kid. We're going to have Shakir Kitchings now, 90 kick power. Sadly, this one's capped, so he's not going to get better at that, but I'm fine with it. The kick accuracy is at 68, which is pretty low, but at least he doesn't have caps in the near future on that one. And this kid can actually run, so we might run with this kid maybe. 82 speed for a punter, that's pretty good. Preseason All-Americans. I usually forget to record this one, and you can only see it in that week 0 where you set up the recruiting board. But on the national level, we're not gonna see many players from us here. Players to highlight is the Clemson receiver Tyler Brown. We're gonna see him this year. Another player to highlight is the edge rusher here, TJ Parker from Clemson. We're going to see him. The defensive tackle from Clemson, we're going to see him. The middle linebacker from Clemson, we're going to see him. And the free safety from Clemson, we're going to see him. So I'm not excited about that game, man. I'm not at all excited about that game. That's not going to be fun. Not even close. Preseason All-Americans, second team. There is not many players that I need to talk about here because most of them we're not going to see because they're in different conferences. But I'm sure there is some Clemson player on the defense there as well. I do not recognize anybody here. No, actually, apparently not. Nobody on the second team that we're going to see or is from our team either. So let's check out the ACC preseason All-Americans. That's always fun, and we have one of the best rosters in the conference. So here we go. ACC, yes, that's a bunch of us. We're going to see that Clemson quarterback, man, Christopher Vezina. Brian Malik is here after his plus 12 overall jump. Ridiculous stuff there. Buck Stoner made it, just like Tyler Brown from the Clemson Tigers. And oh yeah, I wanted to talk about East Carolina. That was actually that was the thing about the conferences, because actually I don't think we would have seen East Carolina all that soon if I hadn't rearranged the conferences. But now that they're in our conference, we're gonna see them a bunch. That's the only thing I wanted to talk about him there. But we have one running back, one receiver, one tight end, one guard, and one tackle on the offense here for the preseason All-Americans first team. And it's interesting that even Trevion Green made it. I did not expect that, but he has been developing very nicely in these 2 off seasons we've had so far. And then Malik Hamrick makes this team. I actually can't believe it, man. And yeah, down the list, just a bunch more Clemson players. We're gonna see all of them, man. That is not gonna be fun at all. They have 3 DBs. Are you kidding me? And then Kareem Fallen is on this list, man. He's a freshman. I'm excited about him. He has been he has had a good offseason. Now for the second team, don't expect our kicker to make it, but for a second team, there is not many players on this list. There is, however, a running back for Clemson, and yeah, Jordan Shipp makes it on this list. Oh man, I'm so excited about this season. We had so many good training results. The only position group that really didn't have great training results is actually the O-line, and that's what scares me a little bit. But the offense looks really good this year. I think we had two players graduate. I think we've both replaced them with equally good players. The center didn't get a whole lot better. The right guard is okay. So I think we're still going to have about the same O-line like last year. But we're going to have a much stronger defense. The linebacking core looks a lot better. I think the safety and the corner group looks a lot better. And our two edge rushers and all the defensive tackles returned. So can't be worse than last year. Now, the schedule. We have Purdue and Georgia Southern at first. This is actually a random choice. I had a randomizer select these teams for me. And then conference. We have 10 conference games in the ACC. Wake Forest, Clemson, East Carolina, James Madison, Virginia, Liberty, Old Dominion, Duke, Virginia Tech, and NC State. Why on earth is it always NC State on the last week of the season? That is crazy to me. And they're always so competitive. Yeah, I know that the 2025 record says 2-10, but they were not a 2-10 team, man. They have a good roster, and I expect them to play hardball this year as well. Now we're ranked number 3 in the country, which I actually kind of can't believe because Clemson, I think, has the better roster, and they're ranked number 9. So this doesn't make any sense to me, but I guess we'll see. I'm gonna attack everything. I want to try to do this. But of course, if you enjoy the video, I would appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. One last thing I just remembered that I forgot to mention is actually the conferences. Not only did those conferences like make geographical sense now, it's also a cool thing because every conference has like 2 good teams and a bunch of mediocre teams and a couple of bad teams. So every conference should be like somewhat equal now. I realize that the Florida Georgia conference is actually pretty stacked, and the Alabama and Louisiana conference is pretty stacked as well. But most conferences have like 2-3 strong teams and a couple of mediocre teams, or a bunch of mediocre teams and a couple of bad teams or something. But that's something that I'm very excited about. I want to see how that plays out. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe for more UNC Dynasty. See you in the next episode. Until then, have a great day.